road. The driver, the baby's mother, not even realizing. Thankfully, the baby girl is okay. And Paula Ferris is here with that story. Good morning, Paula.
Good morning to you, Robin. The video is so disturbing. You just wonder how this sort of thing can happen. But this morning, that mother is facing child endangerment charges, as we've learned that the child was in her car seat, but the car seat was not properly installed in the vehicle. It is.
As the East braces for a major winter storm, frigid cold already created a frozen spectacle in Maine. A giant disk of ice in a river near Portland is drawing international attention. Now, it was first spotted Monday morning. David Begnaud is there along the river in Westbrook, Maine, where the ice disk has formed. David, good morning to you. And what's the name?
All right, again, we're going back to this magnitude 3.5 earthquake that just hit a few minutes ago. It hit just 2 miles north of Piedmont.
And that is the same area where a 3.4 struck yesterday morning. So 2 consecutive days with earthquakes in that range. Joining us on the phone is Diane Bowe. She lives in El Sobrante. Diane, do you hear us?
Yes, I do.
Tell us what you felt out there.
Well, I got woken out of bed because it's a second floor house, and the entire house went from side to side. It felt like it was from south to north.
Okay, yeah.
St. Christine, this happened around 5:15 tonight, and hours later, police are still inside the Seaport Buffet investigating. The 3 victims, one of them a 34-year-old man who, as you said, died. The 2 others are men ages 51 and 60. They are in serious condition at a hospital for what may have been a random attack. Exclusive video shows restaurant workers and customers running for their lives on Emmons Avenue. Moments earlier, police say a 34-year-old.
A Canadian has been sentenced to death in China after he'd already been sentenced to a jail term. Robert Lloyd Schellenberg was convicted for drug smuggling, accused of attempting to move methamphetamine from China to Australia. He was sentenced to 15 years in jail. But suddenly the case was recalled to court on Monday as Chinese authorities said the penalty had been too lenient. Schellenberg maintains that he was in China as a tourist.
Now, leaders of regional bloc, the Southern African Development Community, are meeting in Ethiopia to discuss disputed elections in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Losing presidential candidate Martin Fayulu has filed a court challenge demanding a recount of last month's vote. A ruling is expected by Friday. Fayulu insists he won 61% of the vote, contradicting official results which declared rival Felix Tshisekedi the winner.
For more insight now, Paula Reed joins us from the White House. So, I mean, we sort of giggled our way through this initially, but it's just another one of those sort of head scratchers, Paula. What more can you tell us about the type of work that this firm did for Cohen?
So they were hired to help manipulate online opinion polls heading up to the 2016 election. Now, these were the kind of polls that ask who is the most admired business leader or who would make a good Republican candidate. And this company was hired to come up with a program or an algorithm that would continuously vote and basically skew the poll in President Trump's favor. But it appears that the campaign was largely unsuccessful. But it gives you some insight into the kind of tactics. We know that President Trump and candidate Trump love to point to the polls to show how well he was doing or to sort of bolster himself or one of his initiatives. And here this gives you insight into how they were trying to bolster the polls that he used to bolster himself.
With broken limbs and bruised faces, this group waits for treatment outside a clinic in Harare.
Soldiers broke into a house in the middle of the night, destroying property in the process. They took turns to beat us, and our room was full of blood.
It happened during demonstrations against President Emmerson Mnangagwa's move to double fuel prices to counter a deepening economic crisis. Security forces responded with what rights groups say was an unprecedented use of excessive force. Live ammunition, rubber bullets and tear gas.
The president is unfit for the office he holds. That's not a partisan judgment. It's a charge leveled by leading members of his own party. The Constitution gives us a way forward, moving the debate out of the court of public opinion and into a rule-bound process for resolving it. That's why Congress needs to act now and open an impeachment inquiry.
It's a Gillette razor ad, and not a single man is seen shaving.
The Me Too movement against sexual harassment.
Masculinity. The 90-second ad shows men and boys behaving badly, bullying, and hassling women.
Who's the daddy?
The excuse?
Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
Then the commercial asks the question,
is this the best a man can?
We're kicking off a new monthly segment on this program where we interview Washington's game changers, the men and women, Republicans and Democrats, making history in the 116th United States Congress. In November, Democrat Ilhan Omar of the great state of Minnesota became the first Somali American to be elected to Congress. Ilhan and her family fled Somalia when she was just 8 years old due to that country's bloody civil war. They spent 4 years in a Kenyan refugee camp before finally making here to the U.S.
It is remarkable, and that is why this picture is just so remarkable. This is Ilhan Omar returning with her father to the same Washington airport where they both arrived as refugees to this country 23 years ago.
Melbourne, Australia. Overrun by African gangs, its streets filled with violence, terror, and menace. That's how some local media and politicians are depicting the southern city, and is fueling debate and social tensions. But how accurate are the so-called threats? I'm Steve Chow. On this episode of 101 East, we investigate the truth behind the headlines.
Portions of the following program may be unsuitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions, behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy.
I'm here to tell you tonight that the businessmen, the mayor of this city, the police commissioner of this city, and everybody in the white power structure of this city must take a responsibility for everything.
Can you feel it? Can you feel it?
Luther and I, and everyone in this arena tonight, are unified by the same great American values. We're proud of our country. We respect our flag. Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
Race is when you use your power and influence to subject people into inferiority. Utterances can't be racist.
Look around you, man. They own this shit. They own this couch you sitting on, them shoes you got on your feet, this building, this school, this country, you. We're behind enemy lines, dog.
So you must first of all remember that this system was not originally designed with black people in mind. Right on, And it definitely was not prepared for black people to, in the end, begin to demand their rights and an equal share in this country which they died for. Right on. Hey, and we definitely are not going back to Africa.
In the church, we used to sing the song, "Good News, the chariot is coming." While you sit here today, knowing that you have come to hear good news, you must realize in advance what good news for you might be bad news for somebody else. What good news for the sheep might be bad news to the wolf.
They say, oh, things are getting so much better for you. In 1849, it was hitting blacks on the head 100 times a day. In 1990, they hit them 48 times a day. Isn't it better? Oh, it's got to be better. You're saved 52 blows.
The only purpose of most black Americans on earth today is to destroy.
I think that's noble. Italians love Italians. When Irish love Irish. But when a nigga loves a nigga, it's an unpardonable sin.
They have blood in their hands. When we say they have blood in their hands, we are not saying him, George Bezos, went and killed. But white people colonized us. They dispersed us. They enslaved our people. They sucked our economy dry. They are still sucking it dry even today. That's white people. Tony Blair, George Bush, Napoleon Bonaparte, Leopold, Adolf Hitler, Benjamin Netanyahu. All white people, they are the same. They are racist and they are full of hate.
I've been waiting for you. You have many questions, and though the process has altered your consciousness, you remain irrevocably human. Ergo, some of my answers you will understand, and some of them you will not. Concordantly, while your first question may be the most pertinent, you may or may not realize it is also the most irrelevant.
Why am I here?
Our world is coming crumbling down. The coons are coming.
You got to understand that white America has an uncanny way of making the victim the victimizer. Excuse me, master, for putting my head in the way of your club. Not that your club is brutalizing my head and putting hickeys on it. My head got in the way of your free swing and broke your shiny stick, and I want to apologize for that.
Your life is the sum of a remainder of an unbalanced equation inherent to the programming of the Matrix. You are the eventuality of an anomaly which, despite my sincerest efforts, I have been unable to eliminate from what is otherwise a harmony of mathematical precision. While it remains a burden assiduously avoided, it is not unexpected and thus not beyond a measure of control, which has led you inexorably here.
There are more connections in the human body than there are stars in the galaxy. We possess a gigantic network of information to which we have almost no access.
Matrix is older than you know. I prefer counting from the emergence of one integral anomaly to the emergence of the next, in which case this is the 6th version.
5 months before. There are only 2 possible explanations. 5 months before. Either no one told me, or no one knows.
Precisely. As you are undoubtedly gathering, the anomaly is systemic, creating fluctuations in even the most simplistic equations.
Control me! I'm gonna smash you to You can't make me do anything like prick!
Choice. The problem is choice.
Let us remember that we are not brutalized because we're Baptists. We're not brutalized because we're Methodists. We're not brutalized because we're Muslims. We're not brutalized because we're Catholics. We're brutalized because we are black people in America.
Because white people made him to be what he is. They made him to look evil, because that's their role, to make all of us black people to look evil and to hate ourselves. I can't hate.
You're a nigga till you die. If you're a poor nigga, you're a poor nigga. If you're a rich nigga, you're a rich nigga. But you never stop being a nigga. And if you get to be educated, you're just an educated nigga.
Well, I'm told every day I'm on air that I'm racist because I call out racism. That is maddening to me, and I'm crying about it because it's crazy.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is teaching you and I and trying to tell the white man to get this powder keg out of his house. Let the black man separate from his house. Let the black man have his own house. Let the black man have his own land and his own property.
I thought the bitch was white! Damn it! I thought the bitch was white!
That's true. I think that white people are so guilty, knowing what they've done to black people, that they feel if the deeds were reversed, they would hate the black man if he had done the same thing to them. So it's actually, it reflects a guilt complex on the part of whites when they ask us, do we hate them? And if you notice, Uncle Sam has formed a habit of going all over the world. He calls it the ugly American, or the American image. He thinks that everybody hates him because it's a guilt complex. And if you think that if you are worried about Europeans hating you, and they're your allies and your cousins, well, naturally it would follow for you to think that Negroes in this country would hate you, especially in light of what has been done to black people in this country by white people.
Now, check it out. The white ball dominates everything, right? Knocks the shit out the yellow ball, the red ball, right? And the game's over when the white ball drives the black ball completely off the table.
But you have to see that all of this is hypocrisy.
I love Malcolm. Malcolm called me the Sunday that he died. I was working Basin Street East. He said, Brother Greg, you coming by today? And I said, Malcolm, I love you. And I said, I love you so much, I don't even want to take a chance to be there. He said, what do you mean, Brother Greg? I said, well, I close tonight, Sunday night at Basin Street East. And I said, but I had my wife book me a flight into Chicago at 8 o'clock this morning. And I'm going to Chicago, and I had way beneath my salary booked me into a college about 10 miles from the airport. And I'm going to go there and speak this afternoon, and I'm going to stay there until they tell me you dead. Because I'm not going to let this government get 2 of us for the price of 1. And I'm going to call Adam Clayton Powell when I finish talking to you and beg him not to come there. Because today, the United States government is going to get you.
That was caught on camera. A child in a car seat tumbling out of the car onto the road. The driver, the baby's mother, not even realizing. Thankfully, the baby girl is okay. And Paula Ferris is here with that story. Good morning, Paula.
Good morning to you, Robin. The video is so disturbing. You just wonder how this sort of thing can happen. But this morning, that mother is facing child endangerment charges, as we've learned that the child was in her car seat, but the car seat was not properly installed in the vehicle. It is the heart-stopping video capturing this terrifying moment. Watch as this gray car comes around a curve in Mankato, Minnesota.
Apparently a child fell out of a child seat out of that vehicle.
Look again. The rear driver's side door swings open, and then a toddler who is still strapped in her car seat tumbles into the middle of the road.
The whole seat fell out.
The car continues to drive away as the door slams shut on its own. The moment was captured by Chad Mock's dash cam video. He couldn't believe what he'd seen.
I stopped, got out, and honked my horn several times and tried to flag down the person that lost the child out the back, and they just kept going.
Authorities say the driver of that gray vehicle didn't notice the child had fallen out of the vehicle.
She went through an intersection. And at some point, she pulls her car over to the side of the road. It appeared that, she left her car running and all of that. She just basically runs back to the incident location to try to locate her child.
The toddler miraculously was uninjured.
She wasn't, out of it or anything, but just very calm, very alert.
It does appear that the child was restrained in the child seat. However, it wasn't tethered or strapped into the vehicle itself properly.
Experts say it's a common problem. The CDC says in 2016, 43% of children who died from car crashes were improperly restrained. That's a staggering number. We want to make sure that you have your car seat properly installed. And the first thing you want to do is check your vehicle's manual. That's right. Just because it has a seat belt does not mean that it is equipped to handle a car seat. And then once installed using either latches, anchors, or a seat belt in this case, you want to issue the inch test. The car seat should not move more than an inch in any direction. Infants and toddlers should also ride rear facing as long as possible until they reach the weight and height limit. And finally, you guys, it's okay to ask for help. There are car seat inspectors that are out there. You can go to our website for more, but there's nothing wrong with asking for a little help.
Nothing wrong with asking for a little help. And remember to shut the door completely. Lock it.
I fell out of the car when I was a kid.
It is shut. It is shut.
Yeah, it's shut, Paula. What
George looked at me like that explains a lot. Yeah, I fell out of the car when I was a kid. My mom went to the bank, told us not to get out of the car. My oldest brother did because he wanted the balloons and the candy. Didn't shut the door properly. Rolled right into the intersection.
How old were you?
I got up running. I was old enough to run.
That does explain a lot.
That is
I'm with George on that.
I'm glad you're okay.
No. See,
this thing I have what they call self-esteem for myself.
You got this. But this is the beauty of you, George. You don't have to say anything. The expression always says so much with you.
Welcome to the most hated show on the black corner of the internet. You know they got to do what they do. So I went and played the video first. You know they sitting up in here, they watching, because again it's the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. How you feel today? First and foremost, I want to say what's good to the subscribers that should happen to be in the house tonight. What's good, fam? As always, good to see you in the house. Passerbys is always a grand opening. Go down the aisle, see if you see something you like, hit that like button, that subscribe button, or hit that dislike button, or write a comment. Agents, you'll have your day. Don't worry. You just keep doing what you're doing in the name of whatever you believe you're doing. No love for you here. Moving on. So, you know I got to do my spiel before I get it going, right? Hello and welcome to the Black Minds News and TV Show. I'm your host, the Whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Mind, and this channel is to report, transmit, communicate, articulate, relay, decode, unveil, spread the news, whether it's by news, video, websites, or quotes from publications. As I, your Whiteologist, articulate these information, I ask that the creator of the universe be here, heart, mind, soul, and spirit. Because you know why? The truth don't need no partner. And you know what my motto is? I'm never going to tell you what I heard. I'm only going to tell you what I know. That's right, y'all. Another show, right? Last night's show was a late show. Kind of dragged you. Probably if you did the repeat, you caught that. It was a little dragging because again, it took so much for me to get it going. So I did it anyway because I wanted to be consistent on what I'm trying to do. Even though there's so much persistence and opposition I mean, have you ever seen something that's open 24 hours, 365 days, 24 hours and 7 days a week? And yet, you're going to tell me that there are only 60 to 50 people to come on there. But YouTube wants you to think that no one's interested in what you're talking about. No, it's just you and the foundation that you've always been. You don't fool anybody, right? You think because you sit behind what you're doing, you do the things you're doing, prohibited. No, you make me greater. See, that's the problem with you. You don't get it. You keep doing what you're doing, and I'll take it and I'll keep emboldened with it. That's fine by me. You only shows of evidence of who and what you are. Anyway, so this show tonight won't be as always as, when it's out there I will present it. Sometimes just have to kind of do the B-side things that are happening out there. Because again, sometimes we need that just to let, in our case, I guess we don't let our hair out. We let our hair out, right? Because of the coilness in the melanin. So, as you just seen there, and I got actually, as a matter of fact, I even got the article for that. It's not really too much, right? It's actually a toddler fastened in car seat falls out of a moving car, right? Say that again. Toddler fastened in car seat falls out of moving car. This was done in NBC News. Actually done 2 days ago, January 15, 2019. This is how it reads. It says, a driver in southern Minnesota City was shocked when he saw a young child in the car seat tumbled out of the back of a moving vehicle. If it didn't happen in front of me, it never had believed it. Chad Cheddar Mock wrote on Facebook, sharing the video of the incident that happened just before noon on Monday in the city of Mankato. In the dash cam footage, Mock is seen driving behind another car when its rear passenger door flings open as it's going around a bend and the child fastened in a car seat falls to the ground. The child fell out of it, is seen in the video traveling down the road, the driver apparently unaware of what happened, as Mock and several other drivers get out to make sure the child is okay. The Mankato Department of Public Safety said in a press release Tuesday that the child, a 2-year-old whose name and gender weren't revealed, was not injured. Parent came back. Mock wrote on Facebook, paramedics and police checked the child out as well. Very lucky. Public Safety Department said the child's mother was driving and the car seat was not properly fastened to the back seat of the vehicle. Did not provide details on how the door opened and did not immediately return NBC News requests for comment. According to Mock, police released the child to the mother after determining the child was not hurt. Authorities are requesting charges against the mother of child endangerment and of child restraint system not being fastened. All right. So again, those who have children, you know that sometimes, I've done seen it before, people leave the child on top of the hood of a vehicle, getting in the car, crank the car and start to move and then realize I forgot something. Well, in those situations, there's a kind of a check thing you must do, right? It's kind of like when you get up and before you leave your house, right? There's a routine you go through. So, it's incumbent of those of us as parents when you have children that you make sure you do your checks, right? Make sure I got my keys, my wallet, right? Whatever other thing you do, whether you get your pistol on your side or whatever it is that you carry, shoes, socks, underwear, a hair comb and teeth brushed, right? Got deodorant on, the whole business, right? The whole nine, right? And make sure the baby, right? In this case, it really wasn't that. It was more like the baby was in, but the door opened. And it just happened to hit that corner a little too sharp, right? And somehow the door wasn't quite closed, right? I guess that has happened before. And when the baby fell out because of the car seat, how bulky those car seats are, right? It's kind of like, it hit the ground, but that baby was really vigilant. Boy, that baby was looking head up like, what the, Mama's still driving. Mama was gone. Mama didn't even recognize. Now, I don't know how is it that, you drive and you don't hear the, well, I guess you made it, because maybe the door was already underjarred, right? And so it closed back, and she kept on moving till I guess she got you wherever she got and realized the baby wasn't in there, right? And luckily the person behind wasn't driving. You know how some people not paying attention, driving too fast. Again, they get that ticket, driving too fast for conditions. Hopefully that individual behind wasn't driving that fast and was paying attention, because again, that could have been another type of situation, right? So, you know, on this show, we always also give the life aspect of things. You know, there's always the race, but then again, there's always the teaching moment, right? We have to take these kind of situations because sometimes our people coming from, you know, again, there's a saying that says, I'd rather be raised than just birth, right? Raised than birth. Meaning, when you are just birthed, somebody just had you, you know, kind of like with, you know, animals and so forth. But when you're raised, somebody took the time to actually teach you, right? Rear you, encode certain kinds of information to you, right? And so that's why sometimes I have to have a B show, not so much before, per se, of all the other stuff, because that's going to be there. But, you know, somewhere in this show it's going to be in there. It's just not going to be saturated because, again, it's a little slow today, right? It's always news, but again, sometimes I have to take the lessons when it's there to be taught. Again, it's not like I got just children here, but again, you never know who's going to hear. But again, the way you suppress the hell out of me, I guess no one really going to see it, right? Because I guess your whole thing is you're going to try to keep suppressing me till you make me say, but again, I ain't doing it for the money, am I? Right? I'm doing it to agitate your ass. That's really what I'm doing it for. Well, so you keep doing what you're doing as long as you got to keep listening to me. Oh, well, right? So that was the beginning of that then there, right? So I got this next one, right? This next one is like, well, you know, we got the supermoon coming, right? Got the supermoon coming up. Again, a lot of things that's happening behind the scenes. Yes, we got no government operated, so that doesn't mean that the think tanks ain't in the background conjugating together, coming up with other plans, but just not having it on the clock so they don't have to take any minutes. Think about that. So if you're not on the clock, that don't mean you still can't be having those kind of, you know, sessions, even though it's not being tabulated. Because matter of fact, I think that was one of the things that I heard about that Russia thing. I think they took the minutes, right? Somebody was talking about that. I seen someone talking about the minutes were taken. So in this case, whatever is coming down the pipe and whatever the things people were doing, well, again, they can have meetings where there is nothing to being recorded. Don't mean things ain't being done, right? So anyway, supermoon coming. There was some kind of things that are happening that is kind of part of the nature. Again, some people maybe look at these as prophecies and so forth. So again, here's something that happened in, I think it was in, they said Portland, but I think it's more in Maine. I think somebody misspoke, but they did say Portland at first, but I think it's more in Maine. So check this out, and we shall be right back. See if I can get it going from here. Hold on, let's see. Oh yeah, Mr. Officer, huh?
Story behind the unusual sight in Maine. A giant floating disc of ice spinning in a river. Fascinating and perplexing people all across the country. And TJ Holmes, the best one to send there for it all. Hey there, TJ.
You don't need to, Robin, go to the Great Pyramids of Giza. We have found our own 8th wonder of the world right here in Maine. Robin, I give you ice. I know what you're thinking. TJ, I've seen ice before, but I assure you, you've never seen ice like this. We are talking about an estimated 100-yard across, perfectly formed circle of ice that's in the middle of a river in the middle of the town of Westbrook. Now, I know you're glued to your screens right now, but I beg you don't stare too long, because the thing is actually slowly spinning. It's spinning in a circle, and I don't want you to get lost in its hypnotic powers of this big chunk of ice. Now, they have used this now as a promotional tool in town, because this is the most exciting thing to happen in Westbrook since, okay, this is the most exciting thing to ever happen in the town of Westbrook. They are hoping it's going to become a tourist attraction. People are just fascinated. I have the mayor here with me. Mayor Sanfie, are you all really actually trying to use this to put you guys on the map as a promotional tool here?
Yes, we are.
You are. You think it'll draw people to your town?
I'm hoping it will. Yeah, we're very proud to have that. It's very unique. I've never seen one before, but I'm glad to have it here and get the recognition for it.
All right, and some folks, guys, they're saying it looks like a big crop circle in the water, alien intervention, because it's spinning, saying, hey, we just need one more turntable and a microphone. But whatever you think about it, I am not the expert. I want to turn back to you guys and Ginger, who can better explain the phenomenon of water freezing.
Yes, water does freeze. Thank you, TJ, for that part. That started us off well. But they've actually happened before. I've shown them to you guys. You probably don't remember. A couple years ago, one happened in Michigan. So ice discs do occur. It's been a couple of years since they figured out why, though. So we know that the ice breaks apart. They used to think it was the current of the river that turned it and then it smoothed it out. Not so. We have figured out from here to Europe that when these do form, it is the ice melting, that cold water that comes from it heads down in the river, and then that spins it at a constant rate. So that's a big one. We know that. But there have been others. They all spin at similar rates.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.
All right, so
it's a Gillette razor ad, and not a single man is seen shaving.
The Me Too movement against sexual.
So you roll, all right. Are you ready to jump in and get in? Well, you got to take your time, right? We're gonna do it the right way. So, all right. So let me get the article first before we get into that. It says a 300-foot frozen spectacle forms in Maine River. You know I'm gonna say that again. 300-foot frozen spectacle forms in Maine River. This was done in CBS News, done January the 17th, 2019, and this is how it reads. The frigid cold temperatures hitting the northeast this week has already created a frozen spectacle in Maine, where a giant disc of ice in a river near Portland is drawing international attention. The icy wonder was spotted Monday morning by a nearby property owner who notified the city immediately. Crowds have been lining the Penobscot River in Westbrook, Maine over the past few days to see the natural phenomena in person. One family was there after dark Wednesday night and said it offered an exciting diversion in the middle of a busy winter week. While the disc does appear to have stopped rotating, visitors just want to catch a glimpse before it all disappears. Westbrook is now famous for spinning the ice disc in the river, which is great, one woman said. Whopping 300-foot wide frozen disc has been slowly spinning on the Penobscot River for at least 3 days. I was just speaking to my sister in England. I said, we made national news, and she texted me back and said, no, you haven't made national. You made international. You just was on the BBC, Maine resident Deborah Lorendo said. Ed Fisher, chief meteorologist for CBS Boston station WBZD TV, said the rotation of the ice can be driven by the current of the river and also by temperature changes in the water underneath the ice, creating a vortex that causes it to spin. The shores in this case acts as almost like a grinding wheel where the ice hits the coast and it starts to shave off. And it creates the perfect pizza shape of the ice disc there floating in the water, Fisher said. Stephen Daly specialized in river ice hydraulics for the Army Corps of Engineers. He said, while ice discs are not unheard of, the ones he's seen are much smaller, ranging to 30 to 50 feet. They're very rare. We may hear about these once or twice a winter, Daly said. They had the perfect combination of air temperature, ice production, and flow conditions for this to form, and it may happen again for a number of years. Now that it is touching the river bank, it's unclear if the ice disk will once again begin spinning. The approaching winter storms will also likely bury it in the snow. Daly said the thickness of the ice disk can vary and advised that no one should walk on them, but rather study them for a safe distance on shore. Now, but man, what you know? There ain't nothing but some damn ice and spinning. Yeah, it is. Again, I said word in there was some vortex, right? There's some things that is happening, right? Again, in the middle of the river, something going again. It's kind of like those crop circles, right? We got the super moon coming, right? Man, we got some things that we had a couple. Which I will play. There was a couple things that happened in the West Coast today or yesterday. Matter of fact, it was one after another, right? It was 3.5, and it came back the next day with another one, right? So again, you know, some things again is just on time, right? You may look at it, this is just something that's, you know, no real thing. Again, the reporter tried to say the eighth wonders of the world. Well, no, we are that. Black Americans are the eighth wonders of the world, right? Black Americans are the eighth wonders of the world. See, because again, those people who did everything to try to drive and run you and knock your wheels off, done everything and wonder how you're still here, how you still got a sane mind and, you know, kind of like they say roaches, right? No matter how much you try to exterminate, no matter how much you bomb, it seems like they're still there, right? Like it's going to always be there no matter what you do. So, this circle, again, could just be nothing or it could be something of signs and wonderments, depending on what kind of ideology that you look from, right? Again, it could just be some spinning ice or, again, like I said, could be signs of the times. Well, we know the super moon is creeping up. We got about another week or so, maybe, about a week or so. And, you know, we see that whatever is brewing, things shall be self-evident as time goes on. So, again, I see things, I will report. Again, sometimes it's not always black and white. Sometimes we have to take outside that and look at some of the other things that are going on. It may not be significant. You may look at it insignificant, but you never know. At least you know, and they say knowing is half the battle, right? All right, moving on. This commercial here, right? They're talking about this. I seen this. That was kind of like, okay. All right, what's the big deal with this, right? So, okay, what's the big deal to it? So we're going to go ahead and check this out. Come right back afterwards. Let's see how it plays. Let's go.
Razor ad, and not a single man is seen shaving.
The Me Too movement against sexual harassment.
Masculinity. The 90-second ad shows men and boys behaving badly, bullying, and hassling women. Who's the daddy? The excuse? Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys. Then the commercial asks the question,
is this the best a man can get?
The ad goes on to show good guys stepping in.
Not cool. Not cool. Smile, sweetie. Come on.
And stepping up.
To say the right thing, there will be no going back.
It's been seen more than 6 million times and is Gillette's reaction to the Me Too movement.
What I actually think she's trying to say.
If Gillette wanted a reaction, it's getting it, both for and against. Thousands of people have hit the dislike button on Facebook.
I have a problem, a real problem, with what I believe to be this new kind of war on masculinity.
Devon Franklin is the author of the upcoming book, The Truth About Men.
When I saw that ad,
based on what I saw, what they're basically saying is, don't be a jerk. Be a jerk.
Do I need a shaving company to tell me that?
All right, so Gillette came out with this so-called commercial, but let me give you the article to it. It says a powerful new Gillette commercial tackles toxic masculinity. You know I'm going to say that again. Powerful new Gillette commercial tackles toxic masculinity. This story was done January the 15th, 2019. This is how it reads. Toxic masculinity is under attack. The culture that normalizes harassing women and solving problems through violence has been challenged by everyone from Bear Grylls to the American Psychological Association. Now, Gillette is adding its voice to the chorus with a powerful new commercial. The spot opens with men looking into the mirror, juxtaposed with audios from #MeToo News Report. A narrator flips Gillette's slogan around and asks, "Is this the best a man can get?" Images of cyberbullying, chauvinistic sitcoms, over-sexualized reality shows, and a real dick of a male CEO follows. Two boys tussling at a backyard barbecue, observed by a line of dozens of men behind grills saying boys will be boys in unison. But something finally changed, the narrator says, and we see a checkerboard of news anchors reporting on sexual harassment stories. Previously, raunchy sitcom audience is chastened. Guys start to stand up for what's right, helping a kid chased by bullies, stopping a friend from harassing a woman, and breaking up the backyard scrap. Because the boys watching today will be the men of tomorrow, the narrator said, as we see shots of boys that mirror those of men at the top of the ad. The commercial has been viewed over 3 million times in less than 2 days. It's part of a campaign, The Best Men Can Be, series of 1 million donation annually for 3 years to nonprofits whose work align with the goal. Verse 1, Boys and Girls Club of America. You can be pessimistic about the effectiveness of the campaign and cynical about the company's sincerity. Still, it is heartening that a company this big feels it's a smart PR move to challenge toxic masculinity. Popularity of commercials will hopefully encourage other companies, particularly those that play a part in perpetuating this nonsense, to rethink their approach and make similar efforts. All right, so toxic masculinity. Think about that. He said toxic masculinity. Actually, you know, when you think of this, a thing how the mantra is male versus female, right? And again, as a man, I know that there's a difference, right? And again, because me being a black man in here, I don't have no power to determine anything. And any other man, especially in this country that we are in, we don't determine that. We're pretty much just either pieces in the cog, springs, or, sprockets or washers, but we're not the machine. And it seems that if we're going to, this campaign against what you're saying, toxic masculinity, the only toxic masculinity is the white man. Let's just keep that 100. It's only him. He's the most toxic of all. He suppresses everybody else. It's his way or no way. Everything is under his rule. And when he gets angry, he's the one that will bomb your ass up, right? So why don't anybody just say that directly? Why can't nobody just say that? Oh, that's not politically correct. So we have to group them all together. So that would be like saying all white people are bad, right? So the toxic masculinity again, right? No, but we would say no, that wouldn't be true. So you can't say all men. And toxic masculinity seems as just there's just this campaign about somebody wants to eunuch Most men. And it seems like any man that has, again, as a black man, it's a double whammy, right? Think about that. As a black man, to be black and a masculine man is a double whammy, right? Even though you don't have the power to determine, right? So everybody want to neuter you, right? Or eunuch you, right? One of the two, right? And so what they're doing is a campaign again, working on the younger ones again, because they want Generation Z, right? Where there is no gender and everything is equal. Remember the story that I did with the little boys about second grade being taught that they too wear tampons and all that? Where is this going? Where is it going? Huh? Right? As black men, black men to be out here to be masculine is threatening. It's considered to be threatening, right? I don't know if that's toxic, but the ones who the movers and the shakers and doing everything, I don't think you're going to be able to change that on them. Okay, yeah, you got Me Too. But again, I think that's tactic. That's a tactic. See, if you get this movement, you get the docile the other men under the rims of that. Why the ones that's in power still pushing in the levies and the buttons, right? They still gonna do what they're doing because again, when you say Me Too seem to be more of a poster of a black man as the damn culprit. Because I was just reading the other day, well, Harvey Weinstein lawyer seems like he's about to pull out of that if he can get the judge to okay it. But again, he's still not being plastered, and yet the long list and the high profile seems to not be drowning the TV. But boy, that R. Kelly, and then last night I heard a sister who did a breaking news story talking about the Bill Cosby situation, said they did something last night that they put old Bill out there, again, 80 years old, blind, and, again, that whole thing. Again, the whole case was built on what? Right? Again, they went back into the archive that had been sealed. Again, I don't condone when you're guilty. We're just looking at the facts of what took place. And so you went into the seal in the document, took out what it was, and then retried after yet that case. It had been already settled, and to come back and you still get money on top of it. So it just seemed to be more about going after him, about whatever it was, and a lot of people kind of know what that is. But it seems like the face and the poster of everything that's supposed to be this so-called toxic masculinity, it's ain't even got a black face on it. But I guess we're not supposed to say nothing. So we're going to say men, but the face of it is black men. You're not putting a white man face on that. And so a commercial like that, again, people have their, again, it's good. It's a good, promotion, a campaign to get the stir up, to get the conversation going, right? And I guess that's what's happening. A lot of people will have their sides about it, but again, I'm looking at it as a man, right? As a black man, nothing can be more threatening to pretty much everybody else than a masculine black man. So you want to neuter him. You want to get him spayed and neutered, as Bob Barker always would say. You get your pet spayed or neutered, right? Think about that, y'all. Just think about it, right? It's okay that women, again, you want equality, but again, if you're a person of color, your man ain't the one that's been holding you in the position, is he? But that's not going to never be the mantra or the bullhorn y'all going to say. So you just encompass all men and talking about bullying and all this. Well, that's a lot of that shit is making people soft. That's just part of what kids do. So what you going to do? Again, do mollycoddle? Yeah, what kind of man you going to really build when you get it like that? So if you see where this is going, I guess, if it's all about, making men more soft and spineless back, and again, then that's where it's going. All right, well, let's move on. Ain't gonna say no more about that. It is what it is, right? Look and see who all out here. If anybody in here, I got two people. Oh, I got the agent in here and myself, huh? Oh, I got you could be in here. No sound. Oh, no. Okay, we're good now? Okay. good, Kabir? It's just you. They blocking everybody. They blocking me out, right? They're gonna keep doing that, but it's okay. I'm gonna keep it going anyway. Again, this is one of the B-side story today. Not too much going on today that I wanted to really report. So I'm going to take this time to do some other kind of way today. Just show some versatility, right? So here's another story here. Again, like I said, some stuff took place. And let's see this story here, and I'll be right back. Check this out.
This magnitude 3.5 earthquake that just hit a few minutes ago. It hit just 2 miles north of Piedmont.
And that is the same area where a 3.4 struck yesterday morning. So 2 consecutive days with earthquakes in that range. Joining us on the phone is Diane Bowe. She lives in El Sobrante. Diane, do you hear us?
Yes, I do.
Tell us what you felt out there.
Well, I got woken out of bed because it's a second floor house, and the entire house went from side to side. It felt like it was from south to north.
Okay, yeah.
From back and forth so fast.
A lot of people were saying that they felt it in San Francisco stronger than yesterday's quake. Can you compare the two? Did you feel yesterday's too?
No, I did not feel yesterday at all. Today, I definitely was woken up by it, so it was totally different.
What else happened inside your home? You said that it was kind of shaking a little bit. Anything fall off the shelves?
No, just my cats went crazy. That's about it.
Yeah, they say the animals always really feel these earthquakes. All right, Diane and El Sobrante, thanks for sharing your story this morning. We know a lot of people felt it. I'm looking on Twitter right now. A lot of people saying that, that woke them straight up this morning, a 3.5 earthquake.
Even this morning, just a short time ago, Gianna said that she felt it in the traffic center. But here on the studio desk, neither of us felt it.
No.
But definitely a 3.5 this morning, rocking the East Bay once again for the second consecutive day. Time check, 6:23.
And Christine, this happened around 5:15.
All right, so there was an earthquake 2 days in a row on the West Coast near San Francisco. Right? It's wintertime, right? Earthquakes in the wintertime. You know, it really ain't been a winter, right? Depending on what location you are at, it might have some snow, but other than that, ain't really too much going on. So again, we got a whirling ice hole, right, with a vortex spin. Got earthquakes over here, 3.5 up in the West Coast, back day 1 and day 2, right? So there's things going on. Again, there's the super moon, and I think I will be breaking down some of that super moon. I'll bring some information I got. I think I got some publications in my library. I'll have to go pull it up and find it. But talk about that super moon, and there's things that they talk about. So, again, we got to just, again, see some of the signs of things. Again, it could be nothing or it could be something, just depending on your ideology and how you look at things, right? Just depends, right? I had the article on that, but it looks like it didn't have that, right? I got it somewhere. Maybe it'll come back up again. But since that, we got this one here, right? I got this here. And let me play this right quick.
Tonight, and hours later, police are still inside the Seaport Buffet investigating the 3 victims. One of them, a 34-year-old man who, as you said, died. The 2 others are men ages 51 and 60. They are in serious condition at a hospital for what may have been a random attack. Exclusive video shows restaurant workers and customers running for their lives on Emmons Avenue. Moments earlier, police say a 34-year-old man with a hammer attacked 3 employees at the Seaport Buffet and then left the restaurant. Some people pointing out to cops which direction he went, others seeking shelter at nearby Rendazzo's Clam Bar.
We tried helping people like that were trying to come in, and then we heard the guy say, lock all the doors, a guy is killing people.
Police sources say around 5 p.m. the suspect walked in and struck an employee near the door and then headed towards the back of the restaurant, hitting another worker multiple times. A customer who was there didn't want us to show her face.
I saw a Chinese guy, waiter.
He was walking like this, all bleeding. He held his head, his two hands, and he fell by the door.
Sources say the suspect then went back to the kitchen, attacking a third employee.
He was just screaming crazy words like, I'm killing everybody, this world is hell and everything. He was just screaming crazy things. There was ambulances, there was a couple people taken out on a stretcher.
Police apprehended the suspect 2 blocks away on the waterfront side of Emmons Avenue at East 19th Street. He's currently in custody at the 60th Precinct.
I was shocked. I was shaken. What I can listen. I never saw this before. Never.
It's very freaking scary. I want to know more. Was he a customer?
And again, the suspect is a 34-year-old man. Police did recover the hammer. The motive right now unclear, but police believe it may have been a random attack. That suspect is being questioned at the 60th Precinct. We are live in Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn. Lisa Rosner, CBS 2 News.
Canadian has been sentenced.
All right. So we have up in Brooklyn, right? And let me give you the article to that one. I do have that one. It says hammer attack that killed chef, wounded 2 others inside Brooklyn restaurant may have been racially motivated, source says. You know I'm going to say that again. Hammer attack that killed chef, wounded 2 others inside Brooklyn restaurant may have been racially motivated, source says. This story was done January the 17th, 2019, and this is how it reads. Police are investigating whether the deadly hammer attack inside a Brooklyn restaurant Tuesday night could have been connected to the suspect's self-professed affinity for Chinese movies that denigrate Asian women, a law enforcement source said. The hammer-wielding suspect burst into Seaport Buffet late that evening, attacking the 60-year-old owner, a 34-year-old chef, and a 50-year-old worker inside, police said. A source said Wednesday that the suspect, 34-year-old Arthur Martinovic, first encountered Latino workers inside the Sheepshead Bay restaurant on Emmons Avenue and allegedly told them, "I am not here for you." He went on to attack the 3 Asian men, claiming he was inspired by Chinese movies where women were allegedly mistreated, according to the source. The chief, Fufa Pun of Brooklyn, died at the hospital. The 2 other victims remain in critical condition. The suspect, a 34-year-old Arthur Martinovic, is facing charges of murder, attempt murder, and criminal possession of a weapon. It wasn't clear if he had an attorney. Source said when Martinovic was being processed for arrest inside the police station Wednesday, he was taken to the bathroom where detectives uncuffed him. That's when he turned on the detectives, swinging at them and punching one of them in the eye. He allegedly scratched the second detective before being resisted or restrained and cuffed again. Both detectives were treated for their injuries. Mutnik was cuffed again and restrained with Velcro straps and taken away for psychiatric evaluation, the source said. Witnesses described a frightening aftermath Tuesday night. A couple of people, customers from restaurants, came in here and we let them in, and they said a guy came in crazy with a hammer, started hammering certain people, random people, said Samantha Randazzo, the owner of Randazzo Claim Bar next door. This guy said he was just screaming crazy words like, "I'm killing everybody. World is hell," she said, just screaming crazy things. She said workers inside the Clam Bar locked their doors in fear. "We tried helping people who were trying to come in, customers, but we were scared to even walk out," she said. "We didn't know what was there." Witness said they saw the suspect running towards the garbage behind the restaurant, and an officer arrested him a few blocks away. All we have is the individual went up into the Chinese spot and the buffet. Must have been there once before, didn't like what was being said. Said he was inspired by a Chinese movie, that Chinese mistreating women. Man, boy, this Me Too movement thing is, again, just kind of like the Gillette commercial we were just talking about. Again, propaganda, talking about, the toxic masculinity and women being mistreated. And, again, not saying that women are not being mistreated, right? But we won't put the proper face on the proper context of, well, this is systemic too. Yes, black men do have issues. Again, a lot of that is systemic about, again, some of them coming out of households that have single mothers. And again, depending on the relationship between the mother and the son, times that would be where a lot of these men getting this animosity towards black women is because mamas sometimes take out their frustration about their fathers upon the son because they can't get him. So I guess you end up being, they say, the person most closest to you is the one you lash out at. So it ended up breeding a certain thing. And so what you have is you have some men who, again, when they talk about the woman movement, they have their, been inbred a certain way, so they have a disdain. And then you can actually go on this black internet, you can see there are shows where some men are dedicated to exposing, women in different scenarios and not in good light, right? Just like there's some when they talk about the welfare queen and things of that thing. And again, I just think for myself, I speak for me that, that would not be a thing that I would, I guess I would not propagate that kind of conversation because, again, there's some things that, again, understand the systemicness of how, what we have endured and the, again, as I always state here, which is the cause and effects. So Me Too has it, again, especially when you're talking about those that are in that light, that have the status to bring more light to it. Because, again, if you're just a regular Ann or regular Joe, then those things are kind of hidden, or those are the things that are hidden in the families or things that are hidden in the community, but it don't bring light. But, again, it's a good... And there's a reason for it, but again, you can't blanket all men and make it that men, because of their masculinity, but they're just men being men. It seems like you want to docile and you want to make men soft. So then you're going to have people like this individual who would take it to the extreme. Now, again, I don't know if he knew the dude that he busting in the head, he was like he hit the mushroom on Mario's and got the hammer, and the mallet was going around crushing everything he could see, right? Right? Donkey Kong, right? He hit the mallet and shit. I was going crazy. Look at this motherfucker was doing, right? But he said he was inspired by an Asian movie, but his name was Munavik, right? So most likely kind of a Polish something, right? And so, again, he act crazy, going and fighting the cops. Oh, you know what I'm saying? If you get a handcuff going, talking about you got to pee, they be like, hold it, right? They tell you, hold that shit, right? So he go to the back, uncuff him, and he go fight. So again, they can always get the psychiatric evaluation. Man, you just get up in there, get your black ass in there. They ain't getting that evaluation for you. Just get your ass in there, right? I don't think, who can name? If you hear this video, show me somebody who got the psychiatric evaluation that could claim that there's something psychologically wrong as a defense. I haven't seen it. I have never seen that. Right? I'm pretty sure, I haven't heard every case, but I'm just the ones that do make, would you get a chance to, I've never seen that, right? I mean, matter of fact, remember we did the story about the young man that supposedly had killed his boy, right? And then he come in the courtroom screaming, God, looking crazy and shit. But guess what? He didn't get that, did he? With all that being done, he ain't getting that. So it's funny how this cat could do what he did, going there busting, and a couple of people got killed, and he can get out there and get to my psychiatric evaluation. Again, it's always two sides to this, right? Moving on, right? We're going to move on. All right, well, this one here, again, how you deal with it, right? It's how you deal with things, right? Different countries deal with situations different. But again, this one has a kind of a, it isn't what you see in the front. But again, it's kind of like, well, you did it to us, we're going to do it to you, but we're gonna play hardball. Well, check this out. I'll be right back. Check this out.
To death in China after he'd already been sentenced to a jail term. Robert Lloyd Schellenberg was convicted for drug smuggling, accused of attempting to move methamphetamine from China to Australia. He was sentenced to 15 years in jail. But suddenly the case was recalled to court on Monday as Chinese authorities said the penalty had been too lenient. Schellenberg maintains that he was in China as a tourist. Well, Alistair Sanford is in the studio to talk a little bit more about this. Morning, Alistair.
Morning, Belle.
What do we know about where Schellenberg is right now and what's happening to him?
Well, this review of his sentence took place in the northeastern city of Dalian yesterday. As you say, he was sentenced to 15 years prison in November. Now, this was after several years of the process, and yet this review was ordered at a very short notice, and now he's been given the death penalty. He's in his 30s. He was arrested back in 2014, accused of being an accessory to smuggling over 220 kilos of methamphetamine to Australia. It said that pellets were hidden in car tyres. He's always denied these accusations, saying he was a tourist, as you've said, not a drug smuggler. Now, his lawyer says his client will appeal. He's criticised the sentence, saying this was a one-day hearing based on no new evidence that had been put forward. Unusually, Western media were brought in, invited to cover this review, this hearing, and an unusually long segment, some 5 minutes, was actually broadcast. Now, it's raised questions with suggestions that this was a tit-for-tat action, and that his life is being used as a bargaining chip. Remember, in December, Canada arrested a senior Huawei executive, Meng Wanzhou, and she was held in Vancouver and faces extradition to the US, where she's accused of violating sanctions on Iran. Now, she denies wrongdoing. Today, China's foreign ministry has appealed to Canada to immediately release her, saying that her case is an abuse of legal procedures. But relations between the two countries certainly have deteriorated since the Meng case, and in fact, 2 other Canadians have been detained in China where they're suspected of endangering state security.
And what about the family and friends of Schellenberg? What's the reaction been from those who know him?
As you can imagine, one of shock and anger. The family say that their worst fears have been realised, saying this is horrific and heartbreaking. Human Rights Watch says you have to ask why this particular person of this particular nationality was given this review of his sentence at this particular time. And the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has reacted fairly angrily. Let's have a listen to what he had to say.
It is of extreme concern to us as a government, as it should be to all our international friends and allies, that China has chosen to begin to arbitrarily apply death penalty in cases facing, as in this case, facing a Canadian.
Now, in turn, that kind of indignant reaction has brought anger in China, with state media saying that they've not been putting pressure on Canada and saying the criticism shows rude contempt for China's law. As I say, relations have deteriorated after the Meng case. China's ambassador to Canada accused the country of white supremacy, so that shows just how low relations have gone. Of course, some analysts see that geopolitics is having a lot to do with this case.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Alistair Sanford there.
With broken limbs and bruised faces, this group waits for treatment outside.
Get back yet? There we go. So I'm back now, right? You know I got the fight to do it, right? So we see that again the individual was going up into China, had got caught originally, said for drug smuggling, that they trying to downplay it now, right? Said well no, he was more like just a visitor, right? Had the story, but somehow the story just missing, y'all. Don't know what happened to it. That's why the mic cut off too, right? So anyway, so you got an individual who goes up there, end up getting caught, trying to traffic again, saying from Australia, bringing us stuff through in China. Okay, so he gets caught. So originally they gave him 15-piece bid, right? They gave him a 15-piece. Then they thought about it and said, well, you know what? He's from Canada. He said, didn't they get, what are they, Huawei? I don't know if y'all know. I think I kind of did that story, right? They got Hey Wee. They was like, hey, y'all did when Hey Wee went up there. Y'all went and arrested her and put her up there. Well, we got this cat here. You know what? You know the charge we had on him? I like that. We ain't gonna be 15 years. We on him the death penalty. Now see, this here is how nations, you know what I'm saying? This is national game. This is nation game. And see, we as DOS, all we do is kind of just pawns. We just look at it and be a part of it. Because again, I've never seen American hostages where it's black people where the country would go and bring the military to go get them, right? You ain't never seen that, right? You ain't seen that, right? So when they do these things here, again, you know, it's political, right? And again, you know, I know we don't get too depth in it. But again, I bring it light and some attention to it to make sure so at least you've seen it, right? So they say, well, that we're going to change that and put it in this way. We're going to kill him, right? Based on some fact, again, you know, they're going to use it as bait, right? We're going to say, all right, now you see, we talking about putting him on the block, right? So, you know, pieces you got of ours, we trade you for this, and then that's how that's going to go away, right? Political, national things, right? But it was tit for tat because, again, that's what they had got, Wee, right? Hey Wee, right? When it got her. And, you know, that's what it is. So now the family is kind of, oh, no, he wasn't smuggling drugs. And, again, you better understand in China the history about drugs and bringing methamphetamine up here. You see what that shit is doing here? They don't want to go through that again. Are you familiar with the history of China and what they went through, the opium, and how it fucked the nation up, and they had to do a whole lot of shit to purge to get themselves back to where they at right now? And so I guess so. You're bringing that shit in here and doing it because, again, if you look in the Philippines, that's what Duterte's doing. Duterte is over there killing them. He killing drug dealers. Matter of fact, drug dealers are running up out there getting sanctuary in the Vatican. Ain't that crazy? That's crazy, right? That the drug dealers they running out of the Philippines because Duterte and them is going out there executing them, right? They running getting sanctuary from the church. Crazy business, right? So that's nation business. And then we just the DOS of this land. We just sit back and we just kind of observing, right? We just observe what's going on, right? We ain't got no horse in the race. It's incumbent again, this is the Black Minds News. And again, if it's out there, it's incumbent of me to bring it. Don't be mad. Just understand. See, I don't get into all the pillars and start going into that and that. Nah, we just gonna give it enough so that at least our people have saying we understand a little bit of it, right? That's all it is. Don't be so mad. It is what it is. And again, they said because Canada was in cahoots with the United States. So since we got this Canadian up here, you know what I'm saying? But again, they got international laws in most of the things, especially when it comes to European people, Caucasian people, right? When you get them in some other country, you can't put them in their court. They have to be expedited and tried in their own land, right? So that's how you know this is some kind of a political ploy. It's going to be tit for tat. We're going to know who you got in mind. Well, we're going to give this and the value of pieces of exchanges, right? Well, that's to be continued, right? We'll be paying a little attention as it come across, right? And we'll do that, right? So, again, I got this situation here. Again, I'm on the international part. I'm already in Asia, so we might as well go on over to the continent, right? We need to go over to the continent and see. But before we do that, let me see who in the house again. Let me see. I got two in the house. Well, it's a slow night, huh? It's all good. Check this out. Let me go ahead and play that. Don't need to hit that because I'm going to thank both of y'all for giving me a like. Appreciate that. So go ahead and play this and let's come right back.
This group waits for treatment outside a clinic in Harare.
Soldiers broke into a house in the middle of the night, destroying property in the process. They took turns to beat us and our room was full of blood.
It happened during demonstrations against President Emmerson Mnangagwa's move to double fuel prices to counter a deepening economic crisis. Security forces responded with what rights groups say was an unprecedented use of excessive force. Live ammunition, rubber bullets and tear gas.
They had no mercy. They wanted to kill us, but I managed to escape.
Protesters had set fire to a police station, barricaded roads and looted shops. Hundreds of people were arrested and are now making their way through the courts, including prominent activist Pastor Evan Mawarire. He's facing charges of subverting the government and 20 years in prison if convicted.
We thought we had a new country and a new way of doing things. None of what I'm being accused of is what I have done at all.
Mawarire had been urging people to stay home as part of a 3-day strike over the fuel prices. The protests pose the biggest challenge yet to President Mnangagwa, who came to power offering a new start and vowing to revive the shattered economy by attracting foreign investment. He announced the increase, then headed off overseas, tweeting from Russia that resolving the economic challenges was a monumental task. He also called for calm, a message that may not have got through, with Zimbabwe's internet only partially working after being shut down for several days.
We are calling on the authorities in Zimbabwe to fully restore our internet. It is a human right, it is a constitutional right.
The strike's now over, but schools and some shops remain closed in the capital, Harare. There have been years of food and fuel shortages. Sometimes people are forced to queue for hours, even days.
Things are not yet normal. We can't get fuel. All fuel stations are closed.
Many say the change that was promised following the ousting of Robert Mugabe hasn't happened. Alexia O'Brien, Al Jazeera.
Today we're kicking off a new monthly segment.
Gonna keep on doing it, huh? That's all right. Go ahead and do it. What you want about talking about that stuff? I get it. Zimbabwe's protests violent crackdown after fuel price strikes. I fear for my life. You know I'm going to say that again. Zimbabwe protests violent crackdown after fuel price strikes. I fear for my life. This is on the Express. This story was done January the 16th, 2019. Says security forces in Zimbabwe have arrested scores of citizens, including a prominent activist, as protests against fuel price hikes enter their third day. Residents said soldiers and police were patrolling the streets of townships around the capital of Harare and assaulting some people in their homes, a tactic used by Robert Mugabe's security service during his almost 4 decades of increasingly repressive rule. Human rights activists say more than 100 people have been treated for serious injuries, including gunshot wounds. The Zimbabwe Association of Doctors for Human Rights said there have also been unconfirmed reports of civilian deaths across the country, including one person who was allegedly run over by a security force truck in the capital of Harare. Okay, it says, is there more? Okay, I think that's it. All right, I think that's all there's on to that story. Okay, so looks like, again, you know how it is. Change of the guard, right? Then, you know, certain resources that, again, that you would think that you being part of the citizenry, that market would open, that people could be participants of it to get it from economically. But then, again, there's the part where, you know, it's kind of like this government shutdown, right? This government shutdown is affecting a lot of people. So the same thing there in Zimbabwe, shutting down of the fuel, right? Most can't use it, can't make transport, can't make money. So it's affecting people. People are protesting. And, you know, they got to quell the citizens. So that means heads bust, arms broke, bruises, scratch, all kinds of things to get it, to keep it in its place. And so again, changing of the guard sometimes can be a good thing. Sometimes it's the same old business. What they say, the status quo is always same old, same old. It seems like no matter what we go in this bubble, it's always seemed to be the same old song. We say all around the world, it's just the same old song. It's the same old song, y'all. And so we see that on the continent again. There's a lot of things happening over there. Again, in Zimbabwe, they're fighting over gas, right? What we're gonna be fighting for over here pretty soon, right? Look like people are gonna be mad because they want to get the government open, right? Look at all the people, because again, we gotta look at this too. Who being affected the most with the shutdown? When we say demographically and racially, when they talk about the most, the bigger portion of probably federal government, right, or people who work for the. Again, that's what happened with the 60s, right? They said a lot of people stopped doing what they did do to the 60s because they got government jobs, right? They got to be in the post office and all kinds of things, right? So they got some money, so they stopped, doing the things to progress anymore. And so now, so there's a big portion of our people that work, and so that's probably a lot of them. And plus, again, a lot of people who get some of the so-called assistance, right? Then we got the people who getting other kinds of money from government, whether it be Social Security and so forth. So again, and then it's having its effect, right? And how much longer can this go, right? Again, to be continued, right? Same thing like Zimbabwe, right? I mean, we got issues right here that's going on that's manifesting slowly but surely, right? And I know at one point everybody was kind of saying some things that they thought sounded good, but again, now that this is in effect, it's not the same as it was. It seems like it can affect everybody, even if you should have a job compared to somebody who might be getting some assistance, you might still get the effect too, right? So again, be careful what you ask for, right? All right, so I got this part here. Matter of fact, let me do my service announcement, right? I got to do the service announcement for those who come behind y'all. Y'all up in here, it's all good, right? So let me do the quick service announcement. And go with that one, and we're gonna go with this one here, right? So we're gonna do a quick service announcement, and then we'll be right back, right? No. There we go. There we go. All right, let's go on. Hold on. Go back. There we go.
That terrifying moment that was caught on camera, a child in a car seat tumbling out of the car onto the road.
All right, so I'm going to pull out the right one again. I got a lot of things in the background seem to be taking its place. So let me go ahead and find this over here. Well, let's go on here, right? Let me show you this here. Right, all right, let me give you the back-to-back and what took place I seen today. Check this out. Let's see.
New this morning. There was a lot new this morning, but listen to this. A scathing report in the Wall Street.
I mean, boy, it is really getting really bad, huh? Y'all really doing some funny business here, all right? So check this out.
New this morning, there was a lot new this morning, but listen to this. A scathing report in the Wall Street Journal says that President Trump's former personal lawyer and fixer, Michael Cohen, hired a firm to rig online polls to help then candidate. CNN now exclusively has this statement confirming that story from Michael Cohen himself. It says the following: "What I did was at the direction of and for the sole benefit of Donald J. Trump. I truly regret my blind loyalty to a man who doesn't deserve it," implicating the president in this payment.
And again, that coming from Michael Cohen exclusively to CNN this morning. So what is this Wall Street Journal story about? Well, Cohen allegedly gave the owner of a pretty small tech company thousands of dollars in cash in a Walmart bag when he came to Trump Tower as payment for writing online scripts to help Trump score better in polls, rigging online polls to the benefit of the president. With us now is MJ Lee, CNN national political correspondent. Anything here illegal?
Yeah, just to add to the growing list of bizarre Michael Cohen headlines, let me just walk you through the Wall Street Journal story. It is reporting that in 2015, a man named John Gauger, he runs a tech company, as you said, Poppy, went to Trump Tower to collect $50,000 for work that he did for Michael Cohen to try to rig online polls for then candidate Donald Trump, who was running for president, so that he could have better poll numbers. Now, we don't know if that effort was successful, but this was the work that he says he performed for Michael Cohen on Donald Trump's behalf. Now, the story says that Michael Cohen handed over to John Gauger, this guy, a Walmart bag full of around $12,000 in cash. Now, Cohen, to the Wall Street Journal, denies that piece of the reporting, says that all monies paid to Mr. Gauger were by check. So the cash bag part of this, Michael Cohen is denying. Now, Gauger goes on to claim in the Wall Street Journal that he did not get paid in full, that what was promised to him was the $50,000. But what the Journal is also reporting, and this is significant, is that in 2017, even though Michael Cohen did not pay this full amount to this guy who was trying to rig the online polls for Donald Trump, that Cohen still asked Donald Trump for the full payment of $50,000, and that he was paid this money. So again, just to emphasize, the headline from this story is that Michael Cohen paid this guy around $12,000 to $13,000, according to this person. And then 2 years later, he asked Donald Trump for more money than what he allegedly paid out of his pocket. And Poppy, according to that statement that you just read from Michael Cohen that we just got, all of this comes back to loyalty. Michael Cohen's defense now for a while has been that all of these things that he did that were, frankly, really sketchy, he did out of blind loyalty to Donald Trump. This is obviously going to be a huge, huge narrative that we see when Michael Cohen testifies in Congress next month.
Yeah. Set for that testimony, MJ, is, set for February 7th. And you're learning some new details about the concerns he has about testifying before Congress. What are they?
That's right. I mean, we are learning that Michael Cohen is basically concerned about his family. This is obviously going to be a huge day on Capitol Hill. We are all going to be covering this very, very closely. And Michael Cohen's concern right now remains his family and what all of this would do to them. And this is not a new concern that we are learning about. Even when he was under investigation, as Michael Cohen was waiting for months to get his sentencing finally from the judge here in New York, he was afraid of the toll that all of this was taking on his family. And keep in mind, too, his concern for his family was actually the reason that he made some of his legal decisions that he made as he was waiting for his sentencing. Even before he was able to get a full cooperation with prosecutors, he decided he's going to get the sentencing on the day that was originally determined, because his strategy was, I want to put this behind me as quickly as possible so that I can move on and so that my family can move on.
MJ Lee, thanks very much.
Paul Callan is back with us. Just the legal question here, right? I mean, did he admit to a crime here by confirming that, yes, I did this, but it was at the sole benefit of and direction of the president?
He quite possibly did. There is a federal crime called wire fraud or mail fraud, where if you use federal mails or telephones or the internet to communicate over wires and to defraud somebody, that's a federal crime.
So this would be, in essence, defrauding the American people.
Yes.
And by the president as well. I mean, if Cohen's saying the president directed him.
Oh,
yes, he does. So that would pull the president into it. But here's the problem with the theory actually being used by prosecutors. You'd probably wipe out half the Congress because everybody exaggerates what they're doing in the polls, or they discredit a poll.
Pay someone off to
I don't know.
Polls?
Prosecutors will look at this and say, will every opponent of another candidate claim that he's using rigged polls? I think you could make a criminal case out of it, but I think it would be a tough one. The other problem here that I see with Michael Cohen is that obviously he only paid the guy that he hired to rig the poll $13,000 or $12,000, but he billed the president $50,000. So Trump's going to come in and say, I'm the victim of Michael Cohen. He defrauded me as well as maybe the public.
And this, you know, the Wall Street Journal says that, look, the Trump org didn't ask what the money was for. And Cohen did the $50,000 and Cohen.
There's a lot more details we need on this Michael Cohen story to see how it plays out.
Cohen's saying explicitly to CNN he did this at the direction of the president.
Yes.
Significant.
Okay, it's been a tough day for Mr. Trump today.
It's only 9:23 in the morning.
Right.
Thanks very much, Paul.
All right, so here's the article. Cohen says Trump directed him to pay for poll rigging. You know I'm going to say that again. Cohen says Trump directed him to pay poll rigging. This was done in CNN, January 17, 2019. And this is how it reads. President Donald Trump's former fixer, Michael Cohen, said Thursday that he paid the head of a small technology company thousands in 2015 to rig online polls at the direction of and for the sole benefit of Trump. Cohen was responding to a report in the Wall Street Journal that he paid John Gauger, the owner of Redfinch Solutions LLC, between $12,000 and $13,000 for activities related to Trump's campaign, including trying unsuccessfully to manipulate 2 online polls in Mr. Trump's favor and creating a Twitter account called #WomenForCohen. That praised Cohen's looks and characters and promoted his appearance and statements, boosting Trump's candidacy. In making the claim, Gauger told the paper he wasn't fully paid for the work, though the Journal said Cohen was reimbursed $50,000, the amount of 2 original agreements for Gauger's services. But the Trump Organization, Gauger, according to the paper, also received a boxing glove worn by a Brazilian mixed martial art fighter, along with the cash payment. The paper said that Cohen denied paying Gauger in cash, instead telling the Journal that all monies paid to Gauger were by check, and declined to comment further. The Trump Organization did not comment to the Journal. Rudy Giuliani, an attorney for Trump, told the paper that the allegations that Cohen received more money than what he paid to Gauger shows he's a thief. Later Thursday morning, in a statement of CNN, Cohen said his actions were at the direction of and for the sole benefit of Donald J. Trump. I truly regret my blind loyalty to a man who doesn't deserve it. CNN has reached out to the Trump Organization to respond to Cohen's claims. An attorney for Gauger said they would not comment further on the Journal's story. Journal said that Cohen's reimbursement was made around the same time that he received $130,000. Reimbursement from Trump for expenses incurred during the 2016 election. CNN has previously reported that Cohen used $130,000 as a hush money payment to a woman who allegedly had an affair with Trump, which Trump denies. Gauger told the paper that Cohen asked him in early 2014 to help Trump score well in a CNBC online poll of business leaders and a 2015 Drudge Report poll of potential Republican candidates. Gauger's effort for the CNBC polls were unsuccessful, according to the paper, and Trump ranked low in the Drudge Report poll. Cohen has publicly broken with Trump since cooperating with the Mueller investigation. He is expected to testify before the House Oversight Committee next month and is prepared to discuss topics related to hush money payments and aspects of Trump Organization, including the role of the president and his children, as a source familiar with the matter has said. Now, all right, so what we see here again is that looks like Mr. Cohen is singing. You know what I'm saying? He telling. And him being the fixer, as the story talks about, he was the one that did the dirty work when it needed to be done. And now that he's in the situation he in, I guess, you know, he's turning state somewhat, right? And so I'm just saying, my interest, again, as for us, is not so much about what's all that's going on between them, right? But I'm saying, what is this leading up to, right? Right? Think about that. What is this leading up to? Because, again, if you have the right-hand man who knows some of the work that the individual's been doing or had been doing, right? And now he's singing, right? And then if we hear some of the rhetoric that had been stated prior to about how people are trying to line up, and now that they have their position, it looks like this is a prime use. And again, with the investigation by Mueller, it looks like they are setting it up and trying to put the crosshairs to do what they've been out set to do. Again, I talked about the other day. I read the article about what they said. But then behind this story here, I got something here that is pertaining to this situation. Again, we have to be mindful, right? We can say, well, it has nothing to do with us, but everything that's going on in this country got something a lot to always do with us, whether we want to admit it or not. So, again, that's what's taking place. And then, again, the way they made it sound, they said, well, it was unsuccessful. Well, the money he was paying, it didn't. Again, of course, they're not going to, again, if that service is to be rendered, then what was the purpose of them purchasing that if he couldn't complete the task, right? But they're not going to let you know that, right? Again, if you go back and if you see the video that I did, again, I kind of already know where the real gun is at in this whole thing, right? When they talk about this poll and they talking about somebody, you know, rigging the election and all that, but you know, it's out there. Right? And so, with that being said, they're trying to build the case, right? The Democrats are trying to build the case. And as I said, who will be the ones that will, you know, it will be detriment to most if you should try to succeed at what you're trying to do, right? And you might say, well, what is the campaign? What are you talking about, Mr. Blows Your Mind? Well, let me go ahead and show this next bit, right? Let me show the next piece. And let's see what happens here. Let's go and check it out.
The president is unfit for the office he holds. That's not a partisan judgment. It's a charge leveled by leading members of his own party. The Constitution gives us a way forward, moving the debate out of the court of public opinion and into a rule-bound process for resolving it. That's why Congress needs to act now and open an impeachment inquiry. This wasn't the argument that I set out to make. Before I came to The Atlantic, I taught history, and so when I wanted to understand this moment, I looked to past political crises. 3 times before, Congress has moved to impeach a president, with Bill Clinton, Richard Nixon, and Andrew Johnson. As I delved in, I realized that pundits have overlearned the lessons of Bill Clinton's impeachment, which backfired on his accusers, and entirely forgotten the real significance of Andrew Johnson's. We need to recover the real story of Andrew Johnson's impeachment because it offers the best evidence that the current president must be impeached. Johnson came to the presidency in 1865, just after the Civil War, when Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. At the time, The Atlantic called him an autocrat, egotistic to the point of mental disease, who had become the prey of intriguers and sycophants. He was plainly unfit for the office that he held. He believed that America should remain a white man's republic, and he stood in open defiance of laws and constitutional norms. In effect, Andrew Johnson had chosen to surrender the gains of the Civil War, standing instead with ex-Confederates and denying black Americans their hard-won freedoms. The question was what Congress would do about it. When Johnson abruptly fired his Secretary of War, the country trembled on the brink of a new civil war. Telegrams were sent to bring 100,000 Union Army veterans to Washington to oppose him. Then, Congress did what the Constitution demands, initiating impeachment proceedings against Johnson, taking the conflict off the streets and into the halls of the Capitol, where it belonged. Johnson was impeached in the House of Representatives and then tried in the United States Senate. He was ultimately acquitted, but even so, the process yielded 5 discrete benefits, bringing order out of chaos. First, it shifted the public's attention away from the president's provocations and toward his debilities. Second, it preoccupied the president and his senior staff, diverting them away from their attacks on constitutional liberties. Third, it separated the wild and baseless charges against him from those that were backed by evidence. Fourth, it moved the fight to a rule-bound forum, diffusing the potential for violence. And fifth, despite his acquittal, it did lasting damage to his political prospects, preventing his re-election as president. Impeachment is a potent tool. It shouldn't be abused or used to settle disputes about policy. That's what elections are for. But the most serious charges against Johnson, and those facing Donald Trump, aren't merely political disputes. Many Americans, then and now, believe that their president had taken aim against basic constitutional liberties, shown himself unfit for the office that he holds, and proven unable to discharge his basic duties. The Constitution offers us a procedure for weighing these claims, taking them out of the court of public opinion and into an orderly process for resolving them. The lesson of the Johnson impeachment is that even when the Senate ultimately fails to remove a president, impeachment can be remarkably effective.
Okay, so that's what it looks like they want to do, right? Whether they can achieve it or not, again, it could just be a political ploy again to tie up the hands so that certain things can't be done, but at the expense of who, right? So again, we got to understand that might be part of the game that some people are looking at, right? Those that, again, still have the sour taste in their mouth about their candidate not winning and them not, again, be able to grease the pockets that they had their mouth salivating to do, and then got undermined and, again, they said the election was stolen from them, right? But again, you got to look at the base that the president who's in the chair now is, and his base, and seeing the climate that's going on. So again, it can stir the pot up, right? It can bring all the sediment at the bottom. When you stir the pot, the stuff at the bottom rises to the top, and it can cause a lot of dissension. It's already enough as it is, right? And as time go on, again, especially in that investigation with the Cohen situation, I guess they think that might be what they need, because he, as being the right-hand man, there's some other things he might know. And again, what would he testify against? So again, the clock might be ticking, right? Or the plot is thickening. How about that? Instead of the time ticking, we'll say the plot is thickening. So as again, we'll just be kind of watching and monitor as days go by, and we just have to just be a little vigilant. Again, I think it's kind of like an oven. You put the oven on a certain degree. Let's say you put it at, you about to maybe, make a chicken or something like that. You put it at 400 degrees, 450 degrees. But when you first turn it on, it's not that degrees, right? And it just kind of slowly getting itself to the temperature that you got the dial set to, right? So as time moves forward, it's kind of like the oven, right? The heat will start to rise to get to the temperature. Whoever is really this designer of this game, whoever is the real designers are setting this up like chess. So let's just see. We'll pay attention, right? So again, it's not like the regular show tonight, not tonight. It's like a B show tonight, right? It's a little bit of stuff that's out there. I was like, we'll go this way tonight. But tomorrow we'll get back to our regular scheduled programs, all right? All right, so what I got now, right? Let's see. Well, And a couple more, because you know these shows here don't go full length all the time. And let's see what I got here. Alright, Zimbabwe. Well, this one here. Well, let's do this here, right? This one gonna take a little time. This will probably be it here, but this one will do us some good. Well, gotta look at it this way. You know, as I'm saying, the heightening, right? As I'm talking about the oven and the heat and the rising, right? Because it's getting hot in here, right? It's getting hot in here, right? So not just here, it's in other places too, because again, around the bubble, again, all around the world is the same old song. And then you got to remember there's people who are on the continent who try to use their dual citizenship so that they thought they couldn't go to other places so that they could actually, you know, make a better living away. But it's always the same old game, because again, the uniform that you wear, that you cannot take off, is always the signature that everybody sees. And so when you are in a environment that is exude of European or Caucasian and they have problems, well, you're going to always be looked. So I seen this particular story here. And I said, well, let me bring this, right? Check this out, right? Sit back for a minute. Check this out, and we should be back after that. As a matter of fact, let me make sure. Hold on. Slow your roll. There you go. No, do this. Do that. There we go. All right, so get it there, and then sit back for a quick second and see how they're gonna let this. Let's see if they're gonna let it get it off or not. And 1, 2, 3. Let's get it.
Melbourne, Australia, overrun by African gangs, its streets filled with violence, terror, and menace. That's how some local media and politicians are depicting the southern city, and is fueling debate and social tensions. But how accurate are the so-called threats? I'm Steve Chow. On this episode of 101 East, we investigate the truth behind the headlines.
Yeah, Brimbank 150, just to let you know, we're Code 1 and we'll be patrolling around the Sunshine CBD.
Detective Acting Inspector Helen Chugg and Senior Sergeant Jason Forster are out on patrol in Melbourne's northwestern suburbs.
260, how many suspects are we looking for?
21 Hot Egg Bergen, a vehicle stolen. 4 offenders that have jumped into the complainant's vehicle and decamped from the address 2 minutes ago. It's 4 male heads on board, hoodies, jeans, Caucasian, 2 dark-skinned males. Don't have a direction of travel.
So where was the car last seen? Okay, so what's the situation there now?
Reports of a home invasion are coming in.
Front flywire door was unlocked. The solid timber door behind it was locked. They've kicked that in, damaged the lock. 4 family members were seated around the kitchen table. Made a demand for keys to the Audi. Then they've decamped back out the front door, got in the Audi, drove off.
Okay, just if you can just get the units to keep an eye out for a black Audi, 2013.
It seems to be quite a brazen crime, isn't it? To kick in the door of someone's home while they're at home.
Yeah, it's horrendous. Yeah, it's a horrendous crime, you know, absolutely it is.
Violent home invasions like this have residents in these suburbs on edge. In March, Leah and her husband Gavin were asleep
when 4 teenagers broke down their back door.
I just remember just yelling and just screaming at us to just shut up and just give us money, and Gavin got out of the bed and physically pushed. We had 2 of them in the room, and he got up and physically pushed them out and shut the bedroom door on them. He's then grabbed a baseball bat from underneath the bed, at which point a hammer's come through the bedroom door multiple times of them trying to get in with us, with literally our entire body weight on the door, trying to prevent them from getting to us.
Home security cameras captured Gavin chasing the young men out the front, but he couldn't stop them stealing both their cars.
It's too traumatising for me to go back there and remember it. I don't know how they can say that the crime rate is falling, because everyone I know nobody feels safe.
The teenagers, described as being of African appearance, are still on the run.
Every time I see a black person down the street or just anywhere, it's like a trigger. Before all of this happened, I wasn't scared of black people or people of colour or whatever, but now it's like I can't even face someone in a store that's black because of what's happened to me. And I think that's really unfair. It shouldn't be like that. It's not them, they haven't done anything wrong to me, but I can't help but associate that night with them, and that's what's really unfair.
We just need to call it for what it is if it's African gang violence.
African gangs running riots, terrorising, robbing, wreaking havoc.
People are scared to go into restaurants at night time because they're followed home by these gangs.
You guys know what you want? What's yeah. They have to sit outside, bro.
You feel like you have to be on your best behavior 24/7 because you feel like you're representing your skin color for everyone that's just like you. So you have to be this extra nice person, extra smile. Even if you're not feeling it that day, you just have to have a smile on, because if you don't, you look scary. You get stared at. It's like, imagine someone's looking through you, or someone's eyes are just burning inside of your head. That's what it feels like, essentially.
That's good. I've got mixed garlic and sweet chili. I've got mixed garlic and sweet chili again. Yeah. And then I've got chicken.
Thank you.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
20-year-old Titan was separated at birth from his parents during Sudan's brutal civil war. He hasn't seen them since.
When I was born, the war and everything was happening, so me and my mom got separated. But my grandma, being the hero she is and, the strong lady she is, took me with her.
How many classes do you have? How many hours do your classes for?
Melbourne has been his home since he was 5.
Every day, I have to try to convince you, I'm Australian. I think, you know what? We know we're Australian. We grew up here. Who do we have to? Why should I have to convince you I'm Australian?
Wherever they go, Titan and his friends feel judged.
You gotta realize it's like 1% of us, right? There's crime in every single race. There's people that commit crime in every single race. But with us, for some reason, it gets put onto the whole culture. Our whole, culture gets blamed for the actions of the few now.
armed gangs of young thugs are threatening a violent confrontation at tonight's Moomba Festival.
Police arrived to reclaim the streets, but it was too late and they were outnumbered.
The focus on African gang crime began in March 2016, when violence broke out at the Moomba Festival at Federation Square in the centre of Melbourne.
We had two groups of African young people coming together in Melbourne. There was a fight broke out and it became a rolling maul, if you like. Some of that was because the police became involved and we started chasing these young people. People were seeing chairs being flown, they were seeing people being chased down the street by police, and that created a whole narrative in the media at the time and a lot of political pressure.
I mean, you saw the videos. Those are stupid kids that got riled up, right? They did dumb stuff and they should be, like, it's not right what they did. I don't agree with it at all. It was stupid.
Police charged 37 people over the Moomba violence. Several were linked to a group known as the Apex Gang.
So just a bunch of young kids from a small area. Largely people from a South Sudanese background, although we did have some Maoris and people from other Pacific Islanders in that group.
Apex was notorious for home invasions and carjackings in the city's southeast. Police say at its peak, the group numbered around 130 young men. But after an intense crackdown on Apex, police say it's now been dismantled.
We just don't see them. We're just not seeing that tag or that group in our crimes anymore.
Victoria Police are facing further criticism with claims they've lost control to street gangs.
We have mayhem, we have anarchy.
There is a specific problem in Victoria to do with people of African background.
We need true law and order, we need safety.
I don't see it as a violent African gang crisis, no. Certainly we have an issue. We have an issue with our youth in this state, but I believe that we are containing that issue.
Okay, everybody, welcome to Regnant Shift. Now, tell me who's worked Regnant before. Show of hands.
Detective Acting Inspector Chugg is briefing her team before another night out on patrol.
So just be careful that you don't get tied up with other jobs. You are specifically here to respond to any high harm offending.
They are part of a dedicated task force tackling youth crime in Melbourne's west.
So the Wayward Task Force came about as a result of the evolution of the home invasion offence and carjackings and armed robberies that we were seeing being committed by multiple youth.
People born in Sudan make up 0.1% of Victoria's population, but account for 1% of the state's alleged criminal offenders. Young Sudanese males are overrepresented in certain violent crimes, allegedly committing close to 10% of aggravated robberies.
In terms of numbers, overall numbers for that high crime, high impact crime, the numbers are quite small. When you look at youth crime in particular, we have the second lowest youth crime rate in Australia.
Productivity Commission measures Victoria now as the most fearful state in the nation. Why are people feeling so scared if crime is dropping?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting one. It's certainly one of the things that Victoria Police and the community really need to focus on. Not only do people have to be safe, they have to feel safe. So there's a lot of perception issues I think that we need to deal with as well.
Roll the building. Roll the boat.
19-year-old Adim came to Australia from South Sudan with his brother when he was just 3. He's not seen his mum or dad since.
I had to grow up myself and I had to figure out how to grow and become a man myself.
I could easily be doing other stuff. I could probably be locked up, or like, you know, I could be like, yo, I don't have my mom, I don't have my parents here. And then what's the point? Like, what's the point of doing what I do?
He has a photo of his mum on his phone screensaver and dreams of going to visit her in South Sudan.
I wake up every day and I see the photo and I be like, whatever I do today, I'm doing it for her, to make her happy.
What you say? Shout out to the gang, shout out to the gang,
Adim's friend Arrow has 5 brothers and sisters. He says his mum is worried for him.
My mom doesn't even know what to think anymore. Like, I can tell her all the things in the world, but she's a stay-at-home mom. All she does is believe what the news says. She also looks at us like, whoa, these kids are out of control. She can't even trust me because whatever I say, you know, Channel 7 will say otherwise for 3 weeks straight. So it's like, she doesn't know what to say.
Adim and Arrow have started a music label called 66 Records. Arrow is one of the managers and Adim an aspiring rapper.
With 66 Records, we're the first, what we think is the first black-owned label in Melbourne, in Australia. We just want to be the first ones to make it, you know? I don't know anybody that owns a Ferrari here in Melbourne. I don't know anyone with a mansion, you know? Why can't that be me? Since the whole Apex thing being on the news, I mean, I can't even get a job, you know? I can't really I can have all the qualifications in the world, but if I pull up to the interview and I'm Sudanese, it's like, we should watch this guy. Maybe we should, you know, be more cautious. And just, you know, public transport, you know, people would rather stand from Flinders Street to Dandenong than sit next to me, you know? I get followed around in this grocery store with my mom, like I'm stealing groceries. You know? I don't know, in school, they try to tell me I couldn't hang out with a group of more than 4 people because we looked like we were doing something. I'm like, all right, so they're basically telling me I can't live because I'm black. That's what they're telling me.
And now there's a new threat to public safety, a gang calling itself Menace to Society.
The members of 66 Records are acutely aware of how many see them, and they play up to that image.
But first, this report.
I'm ready for that war.
In this video, they mock the commercial media's coverage of African gangs, while they jump around with knives and rap about committing crime.
Yeah, we always strapped, we never lack. We always strapped with my squad and we breaking in your glass. This is Menace to Society, you should see us on the news. Running for the grub, we ain't really trying to lose. They might keep the door down when we searching for the sweets. Got the car keys, then we gassing down the street. Honey in the 50 zone.
I'm advised they've put videos out that are certainly anti-establishment, anti-police and promote violence.
Yeah, we always strapped, we never lack. We always strapped.
Can you understand why the police would look at those lyrics or look at that music and be worried about it?
The reason we made the video was to profit off this fear, basically. Like, we just some young kids being creative. Like, it's like a movie to us, you know? It's like we made our own movie, but we're getting crucified for it, basically. I don't know. I don't know what I can say, what I can do to make the public believe me when I say I'm not, you know, I'm not crazy, I'm not a criminal. What can I say to you? If that's already the perception you have and you don't want to speak to me, what can I tell you?
Throughout this year, tensions have been building. Police have been under increasing pressure to be seen to act. In August, dozens of teenagers met at a park in Taylors Hill for a planned fight between 2 teenage girls.
Tell us, what do you know about the truth of what happened at Taylor's Hill?
It was over, you know, it was over a nude. It was over like a picture or a video or something that happened. And it was like, it's so... teenagers being stupid, essentially, right?
Let them fight!
Or it was everywhere on social media, right? So everyone that lived in that area was like, went to see what happened.
Mainly when I first walked out, it was the fear of what could happen with the kids because there was that many of them.
David Driscoll lives around the corner from the park.
They do all these criminal acts, and then you see on the news and all that they get away with it. Why do they get away with it? African gangs are here. The government and councils and the police say they're not here. They are here, and people, residents, are scared.
Well, I think what we've seen is certainly elements of what I'd call moral panic. We're seeing headlines and reporting that exacerbates a problem and reporting on things that we're not necessarily seeing. So that causes us some concern, and certainly when you read social media and other reporting platforms, it's driving community angst, and you know, people are seeing African crime everywhere, which is not necessarily the case.
A police helicopter and the riot squad were called in. Media reports said 100 African youths were there that night. Police say the number was closer to 30.
Can you say then that the police overreacted? I mean, was it the police presence that actually exacerbated the community's fears?
It certainly contributed to it. There were many residents who lived out in that area who were fearful for their safety that night, and that's the challenge for us. So we got large numbers of police in to execute our powers and our responsibilities. That the balance for us is then you exacerbate that feeling or that perception of fear.
In September, 66 Records held their official launch party at the Gasometer Hotel in Collingwood. It was one of the biggest nights for young South Sudanese people all year. And in the current climate, both police and 66 Records were on high alert.
We had legal advisors at the show and outside the show. I had warned the police about, obviously, the amount of people we expected to come. And what else? John put out a statement telling the crowd to not give the public and the police what they wanted, is Sudanese kids fighting. And
police had met several times with 66 Records and the venue to discuss security. They had concerns about some of the people attending. Titan was there as a trained legal observer to try and make sure there was no trouble.
I was upstairs just watching the performance and stuff, right? I was like, yeah, this is amazing. And seeing people smile, people dance, I was proud.
But at around 2:30 a.m, once the main performance was over, a fight broke out.
Someone got punched inside, right? And then their friends went to defend them, where it's like, oh yeah, I just got punched. They're like, why'd you punch my cousin and stuff like that, right? And then that just escalated.
Everybody, can you please listen? Everybody go outside.
When did I try to break it up? We broke it up.
More than 200 people caused mayhem in Collingwood after a violent brawl broke out, fuelled by a group of youths.
So things were taken outside, and those guys were beginning to fight with the other group, but they were outnumbered. So one of their friends got into his car.
I'm screaming at people, move, get off the road and stuff, right? people start getting off to the left side, there's still a group of people there. I see this guy come, drive like into the group of people, right?
A car hit the crowd. A 19-year-old South Sudanese man faces multiple charges. Arrow's 18-year-old cousin was badly injured. His leg was later amputated.
He is a real bright young kid, you know? He's always had, you know, real energy about him. He's the one that makes the, you know, the whole family smile. And he was a great basketball player. He was about to go out and get a scholarship to play basketball. It's kind of heartbreaking that, you know, for us to put on a show like this for our community, they couldn't respect us enough to, you know, hold back from fighting just for one night.
This community came here in search of safety. But as fear and distrust build outside these walls, they wonder what the future will be for them and their children.
I really do not feel like I belong here at all. I feel like my parents made a mistake by trying to bring me here. And I feel as though, you know, in the next 10 years or so, there's not gonna be anywhere for my siblings to go comfortably because they're Sudanese, you know. I feel as though my little brother's not gonna be able to go get a job or get rent because of, you know, just of how they're portraying us right now, like we're demons.
That terrifying moment that was caught on camera. A child.
All right, so you wasn't expecting that, was you? Huh? I always got a little something in the bag for y'all, right? So what we see in Australia, right? It kind of has that same similarity that you see that goes on here in the United States. Again, all around the world, same song, no matter where you go in the bubble, it's the same old same. And so, again, the people who are disenfranchised, displaced, who are out of the loop, you know, that which also hides behind color out, right? They color you out of there because, again, you're not part of their family. So, again, as the young brother was talking about, it didn't matter about his credentials because, again, the stigmatization of being a black man or black person in a country that has been colonized by Europeans over the history. And when you look at that history, going back to Austria between about 1788 to 1850, right? And, you know, that's when they talk about those British ships that came in Sydney in North-South Wales, where they end up establishing the so-called penal colony. And, you know, they tell us about the Tasmanian. You know how they talk about that Tasmanian, right? The Tasmanian. Those who know a little bit of the history of that, right? And how they end up becoming the colony they end up taking. They, you know, purged out so many of them, right? So history-wise, right? So those people who probably been there for some generations now. And now that they have a resurgence of, you know, displaced Sudanese, again, there was the Republican, then it was the South Sudanese people. I guess somehow they had some kind of citizenship or sanctuary by going there. And according to the census, they go back to maybe 1990 up into, you know, the population, they start to, you know, have some birth of some of that again. Like he said, he gonna have his prosperity, but again, he feel like he not really part of that. And so, you know, they feel frightened of the masses of people who, again, don't have no place to fit in. They can't economically take care of themselves. Education, it didn't really matter. Again, if you can't make master no money, then he don't have no use for you. So again, look like they took on the persona of what we do here in the United States, the youth here do. Get into hip hop. Say, well, you already labeling us this way, then we might as well just go ahead and just live up to it. But we maybe not doing, you know, the stigmatization. Because again, the one thing I didn't hear in that was them. Again, there was the one story about, you know, they came into the house and wanted to. Again, you're gonna have that, and again, all nations have that element. But again, you just have a whole bunch of displaced people, young people who don't have nowhere to go. So it's a crime, as he said, if it's more, you know, again, what they used to call it in the Black Codes law, right? They used to call it, what is it? There's a term when there's more than 3 or 4 of us on the corner, right? Can't think of it off the top right now, but it'll come to me. You might know what it is. And so it's against the law, like you say, what we up to, right? You're up to something. See, the nervousness and again, the nervous and all of a sudden the fearfulness, again, when you're congregating, because they think you're always up. But that's just guilt. See, historically, even though you today may not have been a part of what happened, transpired in history, but again, you know, you can only suppress for so long. You don't keep doing things for so long. I mean, if you are the beneficiaries and you're living, and again, and everybody around you is starving and without, then it's only incumbent that, again, there are going to be some elements of that criminality that will trickle upon on you. You're keeping everybody out. So what are they supposed to do? So they try to use what everything everybody else seems to do. Again, they say the brother was playing basketball, right? And they was trying to do hip hop, right? You know, it's kind of like the same old thing. The only avenues, again, is kind of entertaining, right? Can't use your brain, even though brother said, well, you know, we just, you know, kids, and some of them, they're smart and so forth. But again, if it's not used in a way that could be beneficial to the machine, then it don't matter. So again, so you just have a bunch of young people who, again, have parents that seem to be just, again, when you seen that church come in, you already knew. You see how they was like, they ain't even really down with that. They're like, man, we kind of don't know why we even got here. So we see that song is all around the world. And again, it was so much of a similarity. They didn't seem like, you know, the way you would think that the old stereotypical African, right? Having the dialect in it. It seemed like everybody got that English, right? You know, like they was like they from here, right? Talking the same talk, right? Trying to do the same old things. Again, that's what happens when a bunch of us get together. So there's going to be some fisticuffs, right? People going to get rubbed away. And, you know, they say because we talk loud and then it was aggressive and it has to be something going wrong. Sometimes that's just how we do. But that fearfulness is because, again, the history of what has been done. And you know the system and everything that keeps the people disenfranchised and out of the loop. And you keep them in that condition. So, again, what you expect going to happen eventually. Right? Nobody advocates for it. But you can't keep suppressing a motherfucker and think that they don't want, like, again, if somebody did you, I'm pretty sure is how your people are so very... what they call that, they will fight, right? Let's put it that way. So you have to look at it from the other end. Other people being suppressed to the point that they need some elbow room. They need to feel like they're here for some purpose other than the fact of just being suppressed. So you got a whole bunch of young people getting to the point of mind it's like they don't give no fuck no more, right? Like they say, hey, they see older people and they say, I'm not going to do this and try to be like you. Right? They want some change. Yeah. Maybe. Maybe not. Right? So, again, that's how it is all around the bubbles, the same old song. Don't change. But maybe the sign is coming that change will come. Maybe the supermoon means something more than what it just was going to display. Only to be continued. I want to thank y'all for those who gave the likes out there. Right? I appreciate that. Whoever came in here afterwards. Matter of fact, I will look up out there. They covered 2 more people came up in here. But before I do that, I have to. I gotta do this, right? You know, I got to do my commercial, right? I don't know why I'm doing that. Okay, that and that. So let me go ahead and do this right quick, and then I shall be. Let's see if it's gonna work. Okay. No. No. There we go. Come on. Alright, so I gotta do that for commercial break. Y'all right? So here we go. 1, 2, 3, let's get it.
Is unfit for the office he holds. That's not a partisan judgment. It's a charge leveled by leading members of his own party. The Constitution gives us a way forward, moving the debate Alright, so let me see who up out here before we get up out of here. We already at that 2-hour mark. So I got 4 in the house. So there's a couple more people came in here. Got Angela Barron in here. What's good, girl? What's good? What's good? Angela got Abdul Kabir. Keep it at 400, huh? I appreciate that, brother. You know. Again, tonight was a B-side type. Again, tomorrow being Friday, I'm gonna come strong with the stuff, some good stuff for tomorrow. So there's a B-side because again, there's some stuff out there we just gotta kind of look at. Matter of fact, I'm gonna do this off the top because again, I don't know if y'all heard this or not. I seen this, I was like, what the fuck? Let me see if I pull it up right quick. This one particular story here, because you know I had been keeping up with that, and today they came out with the verdict. Now, you know I had been doing the Laquan McDonald story, right? And then they end up having the case about the 2, the cops that actually falsified their documents, right? So they had their hearing today. And here it goes. I'm going to just read this. There's nothing to be seen. I'll just read this. This is in case those who might be interested in it. The judge acquits 3 Chicago cops of covering up Laquan McDonald's killing, backing police on each dispute point. You know I'm going to say that again. Judge acquits 3 Chicago cops of covering up Laquan McDonald's killing, backing police on each disputed case. This was done today, January the 17th, 2019. Right now it's the 18th because it's 12 o'clock, but it was 17, right? In a staunch and unequivocal defense of how Chicago police handled Laquan McDonald's murder, a Cook County judge acquitted 3 officers Thursday on charges alleging they conspired to justify the shooting by falsifying reports and claiming the team was the aggressor. At every point In her hour-long ruling, Associated Judge Dominica Stevenson endorsed the actions of the police on the night McDonald was shot by Officer Jason Van Dyke, calling the 17-year-old an erratic armed assailant who ignored commands to drop a small knife. She also said it would be wrong to second-guess the actions of the police, including Van Dyke, who was scheduled to be sentenced Friday for his historic conviction for second-degree murder and 16 counts of aggravated battery. It is clear from the testimony in this case that an officer could reasonably believe that an attack was imminent based upon McDonald's actions, said Stevenson. Reading from a 28-page ruling in her packed courtroom, only the officers involved in the incident know what their belief was at the time of the incident. We cannot now view the actions of the officers with the benefit of hindsight as to what they should have believed. In a written message to the Tribune Thursday evening, McDonald's sister, Tariana, said the judge finding has not changed her mind that the officers tried to cover up what happened to her older brother. I am truly hurt, the 18-year-old wrote in her first public comments. Words couldn't explain how hurt I still am. Not only did I lose a brother, I lost my best friend. People don't understand how I feel not to be able to talk to my brother, let alone see him again. That's why I feel like justice should be served. In acquitting retired Detective David March, ex-patrolman Joseph Walsh, and Officer Tommy Gaffney of conspiracy, official misconduct, and obstruction of justice, Stevenson rejected the prosecution case with a witness-by-witness takedown. She dismantled the crucial testimony of a Chicago police officer who alleged her statement about the shooting was falsified and said she faced retribution from colleagues as a result. The judge also dismissed the accounts of a civilian eyewitness who said he was shooed away from the shooting scene. Stevenson, who is a former Cook County prosecutor, also played down the importance of the now infamous police dashboard video of the shooting, saying it did not capture the perspective of the officers. The court ordered release of the video more than a year after the October 2014 shooting led 2 months of protests and political upheaval and prompted a federal investigation of the police department that concluded officers routinely violated the civil rights of minorities. While Van Dyke's trial centered on his actions on the night of the shooting, the conspiracy case has been seen as a referendum on a so-called code of silence within the Chicago Police Department, designed to protect fellow officers from accountability for wrongdoing. The indictment by a special grand jury was believed to be the first time any Chicago police officer has faced criminal charges stemming from an alleged cover-up on an on-duty shooting. As Stevenson concluded her remarks Thursday, scattered applause arose in the courtroom gallery from supporters of the officers. When court adjourned, the defendants smiled and shook hands with their lawyers. Walsh, who was Van Dyke's partner that night of the shooting, stretched his arms around his attorney, Thomas Breen, and patted him on the back. Later in the lobby, the Lytton Criminal Court building, Walsh stood next to his attorney in front of a wall of television news cameras. At first, he declined on comments on the ruling, but when asked about his last 18 months under indictment, he said, "Heart-wrenching. Heartbreaking for my family," and said Walsh, his jaws clenching as he stepped up to the microphone. "A year and a half, and I have nothing else to say." Another Walsh attorney told PUZ slammed the evidence presented by Special Prosecutor Patricia Brown Holmes, saying the charges should never have been brought. They said the grand jury will indict a ham sandwich, and that's what happened in this case, he said. Gaffney, among the first officers, I don't need to go no more. I don't need to say no more. That's bullshit. You know it's bullshit. You know it's bullshit. How did you convict the one who shot and the ones that was there that wrote and said that they said what collaborated what he said, and it came to find out that wouldn't happen? How is it that they did not get convicted? How is that possible? They say, well, their perspective of what they seen. Well, what their perspective, what they saw versus even what you seen on the video, they didn't want to get that case, y'all. You would open up a whole lot more, right? With that kind of, the fabrications. And again, from the streets of Chi, that can happen all the time, right? Kabir, right? You know about that, right? So that's kind of crazy that they was able to allow them not to be guilty, yet they falsified. And they also had one of the officers that was a female that testified that her account didn't do that, and she said what she said, but her credibility wasn't shot. No, there was no credibility on her point. So again, there you go. Once again, just us, right? I guess they, well, you got him because he was shooting, but you know, if it wasn't for the camera and what y'all said, then it would have been what it is. So again, I don't get it. But I guess if we do something like that, then I guess we held to every letter of the law. It is what it is, right, y'all? Well, I want to thank y'all for coming by, participating, or just, you know, being here, listening to a brother and giving a like. I want to appreciate everybody who came out that I see in here. I see your Kabir Bay, and I see Angela Barron in here. That's good, girl. And anybody else who may be here that I don't see, what's good to you as well. And again, you know what I say, universal now when you see one another, calm down some of all this hate. Again, John Henry Clark has told us the only people we got is just us, right? The belt's getting tighter, man. The doors, the walls are closing in. They doing all kinds of stuff, right? As we've just seen in the last video about what was happening in Australia, right? It seems like it's the same old thing, just in a different location. So, you know, again, peace, love, and hair grease. Stay black. You know, they suppressing the shit out of this channel. But I'm going to keep fighting anyway, right? So until then, to the next show, peace, love, y'all. Got much love for y'all. And we're going, you know how I'm going to go out with. Maybe I just do, well, that's 9, so we just go out this way. Let's see. I don't even think I got it. I got no choice but to do that way. All right, so we're going to go out the way we always go out, right? Yeah, one love, y'all. One love. Hold on.
Portions of the following program may be unsuitable for younger or more sensitive viewers.
I got to figure out how they in here doing that. I'm going to figure it out. Well, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get y'all ass up out of here with that. Trust me. All right.
The program may be unsuitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions, behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy.
I'm here to tell you tonight that the businessmen, the mayor of this city, the police commissioner of this city, and everybody in the white power structure of this city must take a responsibility for everything. Can you feel it?
Luther and I, and everyone in this arena tonight, are unified by the same great American values. We're proud of our country. We respect our flag. Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
Race is when you use your power and influence to subject people into inferiority. Utterances can't be racist.
Look around you, man. They own this shit. They own this couch you sitting on, them shoes you got on your feet, this building, this school, this country, you. We're behind enemy lines, dog.
So you must first of all remember that this system was not originally designed with black people in mind. Right on! And it definitely was not prepared for black people to, in the end, begin to demand their rights and an equal share in this country which they've died for. Hey, and we definitely are not going back to Africa.
In the church, we used to sing the song, "Good news, the chariot is coming." While you sit here today, knowing that you have come to hear good news, you must realize in advance what good news for you might be bad news for somebody else. What good news for the sheep might be bad news to the wolf.
They say, oh, things are getting so much better for you. In 1849, it was hitting blacks on the head 100 times a day. In 1990, they hit them 48 times a day. Isn't it better? Oh, it's got to be better. You're saved 52 blows.
The only purpose of most black Americans on earth today is to destroy.
I think that's noble. Italians love Italians. When Irish love Irish. But when a nigga loves a nigga, it's an unpardonable sin. They have blood in their hands. When we say they have blood in their hands, we are not saying him, George Bezos, went and killed. But white people colonized us. They dispersed us. They enslaved our people. They sucked our economy dry. They are still sucking it dry even today. That's white people. Tony Blair, George Bush, Napoleon Bonaparte, Leopold, Adolf Hitler, Benjamin Netanyahu. All white people, they are the same. They are racist and they are full of hate.
I've been waiting for you. You have many questions, and though the process has altered your consciousness, you remain irrevocably human. Ergo, some of my answers you will understand, and some of them you will not. Concordantly, while your first question may be the most pertinent, you may or may not realize it is also the most irrelevant.
Why am I here?
Our world is coming crumbling down. The coons are coming.
You got to understand that white America has an uncanny way of making the victim the victimizer. Excuse me, master, for putting my head in the way of your club. Not that your club is brutalizing my head and putting hickeys on it. My head got in the way of your free swing and broke your shiny stick, and I want to apologize for that.
Your life is the sum of a remainder of an unbalanced equation inherent to the programming of the Matrix. You are the eventuality of an anomaly which, despite my sincerest efforts, I have been unable to eliminate from what is otherwise a harmony of mathematical precision. While it remains a burden assiduously avoided, it is not unexpected and thus not beyond a measure of control, which has led you inexorably here.
There are more connections in the human body than there are stars in the galaxy. We possess a gigantic network of information to which we have almost no access.
Matrix is older than you know. I prefer counting from the emergence of one integral anomaly to the emergence of the next, in which case this is the 6th version.
5 months before me. There are only 2 possible explanations. There were 5 months before me. Either no one told me, or no one knows.
Precisely. As you are undoubtedly gathering, the anomaly is systemic, creating fluctuations in even the most simplistic equations.
Control me! I'm gonna smash you to bits! Let me show you! You can't make me do anything like Chris!
Choice. The problem is choice.
Let us remember that we are not brutalized because we're Baptists. We're not brutalized because we're Methodists. We're not brutalized because we're Muslims. We're not brutalized because we're Catholics. We're brutalized because we are black people in America. Because white people made him to be what he is. They made him to look evil, because that's their role, to make all of us black people to look evil and to hate ourselves. I can't hate you. You're a nigga till you die. If you're a poor nigga, you're a poor nigga. If you're a rich nigga, you're a rich nigga. But you never stop being a nigga. And if you get to be educated, you're just an educated nigga.
I'm told every day I'm on air that I'm racist because I call out racism. That is maddening to me, and I'm crying about it because it's crazy.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is teaching you and I and trying to tell the white man to get this powder keg out of his house. Let the black man separate from his house. Let the black man have his own house. Let the black man have his own land and his own property.
was white! Damn it! I thought the bitch was white!
That's true.
I think that white people are so guilty, knowing what they've done to black people, that they feel if the deeds were reversed, they would hate the black man if he had done the same thing to them. So it's actually, it reflects a guilt complex on the part of whites when they ask us, do we hate them? And if you notice, Uncle Sam has formed a habit of going all over the world. He calls it the ugly American or the American image. He thinks that everybody hates him because it's a guilt complex. And if you think that if you are worried about Europeans hating you, and they're your allies and your cousins, well, naturally it would follow for you to think that Negroes in this country would hate you, especially in light of what has been done to black people in this country by white people.
Now, check it out. The white ball dominates everything, right? Knocks the shit out the yellow ball, the red ball, right? And the game's over when the white ball drives the black ball completely off the table.
But you have to see that all of this is hypocrisy.
I love Malcolm. Malcolm called me the Sunday that he died. I was working Basin Street East. He said, Brother Greg, you coming by today? And I said, Malcolm, I love you. And I said, I love you so much, I don't even want to take a chance to be there. He said, what do you mean, Brother Greg? I said, well, I close tonight, Sunday night at Basin Street East. And I said, but I had my wife book me a flight into Chicago at 8 o'clock this morning. And I'm going to Chicago, and I had way beneath my salary, booked me into a college about 10 miles from the airport. And I'm going to go there and speak this afternoon, and I'm going to stay there until they tell me you dead. Because I'm not going to let this government get two of us for the price of one. And I'm going to call Adam Clayton Powell when I finish talking to you and beg him not to come there. Because today, the United States government is going to get you.
That was caught on camera.